Now, let me make sure I'm understanding this correctly. The mainstream media, the proud defenders of the unprofitable business of women's basketball, the mainstream media who has spent years trying to convince us that women's basketball is must-see TV instead of what it actually is, which is get off my TV.
That sudden tonal crack tells you everything. When even mainstream media drops the shine and finally confesses collapse, you know something disastrous is unfolding, because this is the same press that spent last year selling us that Unrivaled was the future of women's basketball. Massive funding, famous faces, elite talent worldwide, and now they're drafting eulogies. So what broke? How did a bold revolution become a fight to breathe in under 12 months, while the clock kept screaming in?
It's actually telling us the truth. Last year, they were trying to convince us that Unrivaled was taking over the world. Have you seen these ratings? I haven't seen ratings this high since Beavis claimed he gets nothing but head. Whoopee! But this year, the media is finally admitting what Uncle KC has been telling you guys all.
Rewind to what the media was pitching in January 2024. Unrivaled arrived with deafening hype. Nafi Sakir and Brianna Stewart helped launch the league, backed by heavyweight investors. They locked down a national broadcast deal with TNT. Six-figure paychecks for players, a cutting-edge facility in Miami. The promise sounded easy. Give WNBA stars a homegrown option in the offseason so they wouldn't need to fly overseas, and the press swallowed it whole. Every publication published glowing spotlights. This was supposed to change everything. This was framed as proof women's basketball could support multiple pro leagues. This was the long-awaited breakthrough moment. Except none of it rested on real consumer demand. It leaned on optimism, investor money, and a dangerous misread of how the market actually works in real life.
Often does. One of the main problems with women's basketball, besides the fact that the actual product is the drizzling shits, one of the main problems, the abundance of unlikable players. Women's basketball, especially the WNBA, it has been overrun with the disease of entitlement. Earlier this morning, I was watching a 90-minute interview that Chris Van Vliet did with Mike Mizanin, or as grown men who still pick their boogers prefer to call him, The Miz. In the early 2000s, The Miz was selected to be on the cast of The Real World Back to New York on MTV. It was his big break into the business of entertainment. He ended up doing a few seasons of...
Here's the reality no mainstream outlet wants to say out loud. Consumer demand for women's basketball is extremely limited. Not modest demand. Not hidden demand waiting for visibility. Barely their demand. And before anyone throws the word hater, let's look straight at the numbers. The WNBA has been operating for 28 years. It has never posted a profit. It stays alive through financial support from the NBA average attendance. In 2024, WNBA games drew roughly 7,000 fans per night, even after heavy promotion and discounted pricing. Women's college basketball has existed far longer, yet outside March Madness and a few rivalry matchups, those arenas sit empty as well. ESPN owns the broadcast rights and still struggles to pull viewers for regular season games. This isn't opinion. These are documented facts. The demand simply does not exist at a level capable of supporting multiple professional leagues.
He never aspired to be an MTV superstar, which was a somewhat lucrative career at the time. His dream was to be a WWE superstar. When he entered the wrestling business, because he came from MTV, because he was perceived as the reality TV guy, Mike Mizanin was not respected. Just like WNBA players, he wasn't respected by fans, and he damn sure wasn't respected by his colleagues in the locker room. He was ridiculed. He was kicked out of the locker room. This dude was forced to change clothes in the utility closet. He was changing clothes in the same dump that WNBA players use to get ready for their pretend basketball games. He was made fun of. He was told countless times that he would never make it in WWE. He would never be respected because he would always be perceived as the MTV guy. He would always be perceived as the kid who got a lucky break. And
that W comparison cuts deeper than it first appears because Mike Mazin understood a brutal truth about winning an audience. Respect can't be demanded. It has to be earned. You can't guilt people into watching your product. You have to make them care. The Miz entered WWE with built-in advantages. He already had mainstream recognition from MTV. He already had an audience. He could have arrived demanding main event pushes and massive contracts based on that platform. Instead, he spent years doing whatever was required, seizing every chance, never whining, slowly earning trust from fans and fellow wrestlers alike. Now contrast that path with what we've watched from many WNBA players and Unrivaled participants. Rather than prioritizing growth and earning viewers, there's been a steady drumbeat of demands. Demands for higher salaries despite limited revenue. Demands for equal media exposure despite far lower viewership. Demands that fans show up and support them as if attendance is owed, not earned. And look, the frustration is understandable. These are elite athletes who grind relentlessly. But professional sports runs on a harsh reality. Pay follows revenue, revenue follows interest, and interest can't be skipped.
Office sports. Unrivaled facing stiff challenges as ratings plunge to start second season. Describing this as a ratings plunge, that is being polite. Because these Unrivaled ratings, they are damn near non-existent. January 5th, Unrivaled had 2 games on something called True TV. True TV? Why is a channel named True TV, which I would assume is dedicated to the truth, why are they broadcasting a league that is make-believe? Why is True TV broadcasting pretend basketball? The 2 games on True TV averaged 32,000 viewers, but that's okay.
And now, let's drill into the hard numbers, because this is where struggling turns into something far more dangerous. Front Office Sports released a deep dive into Unrivaled's second season performance, and the figures are devastating. On January 5th, 2025, Unrivaled aired 2 games on True TV. Those broadcasts averaged just 32,000 viewers combined. Read that again. 32,000 people watching what was marketed as elite basketball, powered by some of the biggest names in women's sports. The following week, 4 games aired on True TV and averaged 71,000 viewers. Yes, that's technically an increase, but it's still a disaster for a league that needs audiences in the millions to justify its existence and the massive salaries it's handing out. Then comes TNT, the flagship network partner that invested heavily in this experiment. Games on TNT averaged 139,000 viewers. That's a 20% drop from the previous week's already grim numbers and a steep fall from last season's debut. For perspective, a random Tuesday night college game between 2 unranked teams usually attracts more viewers. Even local news in mid-sized markets performs better. This isn't missing expectations. This is the market
Unrivaled was averaging last year. But ratings are only part of the problem. Over the summer, Unrivaled used some of their massive investment from TNT to add seats to the high school gym where all their games are played. And when I say high school gym, that is not hyperbole. I'm not joking around. Matter of fact, describing it as a high school gym is Uncle KC being polite. It's more like a high school library. The gym is incredibly quiet because it was only seating around 800 people. But over the summer, in anticipation for what Unrivaled was calling unbelievable demand for our product, they spent some of the leftover money from TNT that wasn't given to overpaid players who have no ability to ensure that TNT receives a return on their investment And Unrivaled used those leftover funds to add seats to the library. Instead of seating 850, the library now has the capacity to hold 1,000 people. Unfortunately for Unrivaled, there is so little demand for their product, they are having to put books in.
Ratings collapse is only half the nightmare. The other half is somehow worse. They can't fill the building. Last summer, Unrivaled took part of TNT's investment and expanded their Miami facility. Original capacity sat around 850 seats. They bumped it up to 1,000. Pause on that choice for a second. They reviewed their first season and concluded the issue was a shortage of seats. They convinced themselves demand was overflowing and expansion was necessary. That isn't confidence. That's denial. Because now, even with 1,000 seats available, Unrivaled can't move tickets. According to multiple reports, every game this season has featured empty seats. Not a couple scattered up top, entire sections sitting vacant across the arena. Let that really sink in. In Miami, a massive metro area with millions of people, during basketball season, when sports interest is already high, Unrivaled can't sell 1,000 tickets a night. You could sell 1,000 tickets to a decent cover band in a dive bar. You could sell 1,000 tickets to a local theater show. But a professional basketball league featuring WNBA All-Stars can't pull it off. And before anyone points to ticket prices, they've already been slashed more than once. This isn't about cost. This is about demand.
Wonder why? Uncle KC will tell you why Unrivaled is struggling. Well, Uncle KC, Unrivaled is struggling because all their stars are injured or their stars refuse to play this season. Stars? What stars? They had Angel Reese last season, and they still couldn't draw flies to a fresh turd. The problem for Unrivaled, there is no solution to their problem. The reason Unrivaled is struggling is because there is minimal interest in women's basketball.
The go-to excuse whenever women's basketball fails to attract an audience is always identical. The stars were missing or the stars weren't playing. We heard it nonstop throughout the WNBA season whenever attendance dipped or ratings collapsed. The explanation was always that Caitlin Clark didn't suit up that night, or Breanna Stewart was sidelined, or Angel Reese was unavailable. But that argument completely falls apart with Unrivaled. Last season, they had Angel Reese, one of the most aggressively promoted players in women's basketball. They had Breanna Stewart, a multiple-time WNBA MVP. They had Nafisa Collier, an Olympic gold medalist. They had Enrique Aunel, Kelsey Plum, Jackie Young. This wasn't a developmental league filled with unknowns. This was marketed as the absolute elite, and they still couldn't pull viewers or fill seats. So what's the excuse now? At some point, you have to stop pointing outward and confront the core issue. The product itself does not generate enough consumer interest to sustain a professional league.
Been around for decades. No one is watching. No one is interested. It is the middle of January. How many times have you heard about women's college basketball this season? The damn media isn't even talking about it. Unrivaled is trying to fill a need that does not exist. No one asked for more women's basketball. And again, I know this sounds harsh. I'm sure I'll be accused of being a meanie. Don't be mad at me. I'm just the messenger. I'm just telling you what I am seeing. I see empty seats in WNBA arenas. I see the WNBA final struggling to sell tickets with tickets selling for $30, $40. I see Unrivaled unable to sell 1,000 tickets. Unrivaled is paying six-figure salaries to their players to draw five-figure ratings. This is not sustainable. And I guarantee you, TNT pulls out of this deal with Unrivaled after next season.
Here's what makes Unrivaled's collapse especially revealing. This wasn't a scrappy, underfunded experiment limping along on hope. This league had everything people claim women's basketball needs to succeed. Major network support from TNT, providing both capital and guaranteed airtime on a national cable platform. Six-figure player salaries designed to lock in elite talent. A centralized schedule in one location, wiping out travel expenses and logistical headaches. Built-in marketing from the network and from players' existing social media reach. A venue in Miami, a major market with warm weather and a massive potential audience. Every supposed obstacle was removed. No travel exhaustion. No battles over arena availability. No lack of promotion. No star absences, since the league was structured entirely around player schedules. And it still imploded. That tells you something uncomfortable about the core market for women's basketball. It's not lacking marketing. It's not lacking funding. It's not lacking scheduling tweaks or star power. The audience simply isn't large enough to support professional leagues beyond the WNBA itself, which survives only because of NBA subsidies. Unrivaled is trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist. They're attempting to will demand into existence with money and optimism. But consumer interest can't be manufactured. People either want to watch or they don't. And the evidence is brutal. They don't. Look at the broader picture. The WNBA season ended only months ago. College basketball is currently underway. In theory, women's basketball fans have plenty to watch. Yet when offered elite players in a new league with a different format, they're opting out. Ratings are dreadful. Seats are empty. Social engagement is a fraction of what these same players generate during WNBA play. This isn't about timing, promotion, or competition from other sports. This is about demand, and that demand isn't there. And now you can be sure TNT executives are staring at these numbers and having hard conversations about their investment. They didn't fund Unrivaled out of charity. They expected returns. They expected ratings to support ad rates. They expected buzz, momentum, and growth from Season 1 to Season 2. Instead, they got retreat. Sharp retreat. The kind of drop that gets deals ripped up and partnerships quietly dismantled. I'll say it now. TNT walks away from this agreement after next season if it doesn't happen sooner, because no network bleeds cash forever on a product that can't even crack 150,000 viewers on its primary channel. That isn't sustainable. It's not remotely sustainable. And when TNT exits, where does Unrivaled go next? Which network looks at these metrics and says, yes, we want in on that? None. This league is living on borrowed time, running on the leftovers of early investment money that's disappearing fast. Players are cashing six-figure checks today, but how long does that continue when losses pile up into the millions with no realistic path to profit? How long before investors decide they've burned enough capital chasing a fantasy? This is the reality mainstream media spent years shielding you from. This is what happens when you build a business around what you believe should be popular instead of what people actually consume. This is what happens when storylines matter more than statistics, optimism replaces evidence, and ideology outweighs economics. Women's basketball does have a place in sports. The WNBA exists and will continue to exist because the NBA is willing to subsidize it. Women's college basketball exists because it's part of athletic departments propped up by football and men's basketball revenue. Those are sustainable structures inside larger systems. But standalone professional leagues, especially multiple competing ones, demand a level of consumer interest that simply isn't there. Unrivaled is demonstrating that reality in the most expensive way imaginable. So here's the real question. How much longer does Unrivaled last? One more season? 2? Does it even reach the end of this one? And when it finally collapses, will the media admit the truth about market demand for women's basketball, or will they recycle the excuses and start hyping the next doomed experiment? Drop your predictions below. And if you think I'm wrong, bring data, because I've brought mine, and it all points the same way. Unrivaled is failing because the audience required to sustain it doesn't exist. That isn't hate. That isn't bias. That's reality. Hit like if you value honest analysis over cheerleading. Subscribe if you want sports commentary driven by facts, not narratives.